smash those like and subscribe buttons for more content. Thank you.
A little too hot.
So we our spring championship bowl, we hosted the concession stand. My organization did. Average, you make about 14, 15 grand. We made 27,000.
American?
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
No,
Definitely not.
pesos.
Definitely
Not
not
in
pesos.
The brisket, bro. We smoked 27 briskets.
Speaking of pesos, I've been watching a new Netflix show. It's about a guys who
Tex-Mex?
car. Yeah, Tex-Mex. Yep.
Okay. So here we are today. We are live, and we are going to be talking about the NFC West, which I think had the best team in the NFC, and the 49ers, who just missed a few, dozen quarterbacks. So I think we're going to start with the 49ers. I haven't looked at the cheat sheet yet, but let's start with them, because that's my pick to win the division. What do you guys think?
Well, you know where I'm going.
Yeah, but we didn't say the delusional pick.
Well, no. So you guys both have the Niners at 13-4. I've got them at 11-6 with the Seahawks at 12-5. So.
Okay. Well, so let's talk about who the 49ers. The 49ers re-signed a whole bunch of people. They lost a whole bunch of people, which the highlights are their old quarterback, Garoppolo, the linebacker, Al-Sharir, their defensive end, Omen Yahu, a tackle, McGlinchey, and a cornerback in Ward. The signings weren't a whole lot. The draft picks weren't a whole lot. Their first draft pick was a number 3, or third rounder, which you got a cornerback. They got a kicker in the third round, a tight end. Their starting roster right now is either Purdy or Trey Lance. Probably have a battle for that. I don't think anyone's named a starter yet. You got Ayuk, you got Samuel, you got Greg Jennings as a 3, you got Kittle tight end, Christian McCaffrey at running back. Their offense was a top 10 offensive line, and their defense was number 1 ranked defense. And 2 of their top playmakers were missing a large section of time. So that's the 49ers in a nutshell. Did I miss anything?
Not really. I mean, I haven't been 13-4 also. Listen, if you look at their schedule, there's not really many teams that are giving them a fight. The NFC West has 2 teams that are mediocre at best, in Arizona and the Rams. Let's just be honest. The only other team that's going to give them a fight would be the Seahawks, and they got to play them twice. I unfortunately have them losing, or not unfortunately, not for me, but maybe for Stryker, but they beat the Seahawks twice, in my opinion. Other than that, their schedule is, to me, kind of weak. They don't play a lot of big teams that you're thinking, They do end up playing the NFC East this season, which could give them some problems in the Cowboys and Philly. I have them beating the Cowboys and losing to Philly in one of those 4 losses. They're going to be a good team, man. They haven't lost much at all. They're the same team coming out. Purdy seems to be, Purdy, right? A out of nowhere quarterback that, is stepping up and looks great. Again, people are comparing him to Brady. I don't know about that, but he's doing enough to win games, and that defense, I don't see much changing for the 49ers. I think that in the NFC, the Philly and the 49ers are going to be the top 2 teams again. I don't see anybody in their schedule that's really going to give them much problems again, other than the NFC East 2 teams, the Cowboys and Philly. I gave them 4 losses because the Bengals are on there, and I had them losing to Jacksonville as well, by the way. So other than that, I think the 49ers are back in the playoffs and possibly back in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, it was hard for me to give them as many losses as I did. Like, I went, they're probably favored in a majority of the games. Now, in my head, I went, Stryker said they were one of the least injured teams in the league last year. But I think that slider is wrong, not because it's true, but there's getting folks hurt, and then there's getting good folks hurt. And the 49ers got all their quarterbacks hurt. Their defense lost Bosa for a period of time. They lost their other, top defensive players. So they were missing key additions. That defense gave up 77 yards on the ground a game. Like, it's not just tough, it's tough, right? They've got legit. I mean, they've got weapons on. I mean, we're not talking like second tier weapons. Um, maybe Ayuk is a second tier weapon, but Debo is a top tier weapon. McCaffrey is a top tier weapon. Kittle is a top tier weapon. I mean, that defense is a top tier weapon. You've got just loaded, and let alone, you know, the question mark's going to be around the quarterback, right? If Purdy it really turns into a 6th-round draft pick, which he showed no signs of doing until someone ripped his arm off, right? And Trey Lance is a pumpkin, then they have problems, right? Because there is no Garoppolo.
Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, by the way, not a 6th-rounder.
My bad.
Bro,
well,
in the NFC West, the 49ers are pretty much saying, we'll spot you a quarterback. We don't need one, and we're still going to beat you.
Correct. So, I mean, and on the flip side, if Purdy looks as good as he did, they've got another great quarterback on a stacked team and, 3 or however many years of it, Mr. Irrelevant salary, right? That helps keep a team together like nothing else. So yeah, I see him being a tough out. So I got him in first place.
If you go fantasy relevance on this team, I mean, there's a lot for it, right? Not even counting.
Can I talk about him before you go fantasy relevance, or do I just get to
jump in there, baby?
So I think the one thing that you guys are overlooking is they have zero depth. Once they move past their starters on defense, they've got nothing. They've got a bunch of unprovens, a bunch of rookies, and a bunch of nothing. So, and they have no secondary. So if they don't get pass rush, they are screwed on the defensive end. Now they have a good chance of getting pass rush, but if somebody decides to play 7 in the box and or 7 on the line, 2 tight ends or a tight end and a running back blocking or whatever, I mean, it's going to be hard for their cornerbacks and safeties to stop the passing game. That's why I don't have them as strong. I think their offense will be fine. Debo's a phenomenal player. Like I hate Debo, but that's because I love Debo. But I just don't see their defense being as stunning as they were last year. I don't know how they do it. They lost their depth, plain and simple.
I mean, they lost little depth on defense. They lost a linebacker and a defensive end.
They lost all their rotational guys. They have nobody. Their secondary rotational guys, they kept guys like Bosa and Armstead and stuff healthy and energized.
Yeah, but they literally lost a cornerback, a linebacker, and a defensive end, and they drafted a linebacker and a defensive end. Now, granted, they're 5th-rounders, but at a cornerback.
They lost 2 defensive ends, 2 defensive tackles, a linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, and a safety.
Okay, so they were number 1 last year. What do you think they dropped to?
I mean, they're still in the top 10, but is the top 10 a difference enough? Because they didn't win. In
my opinion, if they take a precipitous drop to 15, it doesn't matter. This offense is too stacked.
But I don't see them dropping that far at all whatsoever. First and foremost, they're going to win their division, my opinion. Again, I know the Seahawks and all that, but the 49ers are going to win their division. Other than that, look, depth chart is depth chart, but they're not paid like starters because they're not starters. You want to play most of your season with the starters, and you try your best to. Injuries happen in this league for sure, but for the most part, your starters are playing a lot of games. These starters have played a lot of games, maybe for the exception of Bosa. This team if stays healthy, again, we can play though. What if they get hurt? No depth, but I'm going to assume they stay healthy. And dumb assumption, I get it, but for the most part, I'm going to go with 80%, maybe 70% of the roster stays healthy. And with a 70% roster that they have, just looking at their offense, they're going to outscore points. And then you throw in a defense like that, even if that defense is running at 70%, it's enough to stop teams enough for their offense to outscore points. So I don't see them dropping outside of the top 10, no way. But they're going to be one of the, those elite 6 teams we're talking about towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think nightmare scenario for them. McCaffrey runs into Ayuk, who laterals the ball, and it kicks at the quarterback. Like, that even then you're going, that's still a pretty good team. So I don't know. I think everyone, you always have one of those rashes. Teams have rashes of injuries where it decimates them. I think they're deep enough. That's my take.
I think Stryker just wants to hate on the Niners because
Hey,
he's a Seahawks
again,
fan.
when we get to my division, I'm going to be doing the same thing. There's no way the Titans can win.
Why? I was honest about my Cowboys.
Uh,
Y'all need to
I'm
look
just
within
playing.
yourselves and be honest with your own homer teams, right?
Yeah, and for me, I mean, it's not that I think the Niners are going to be terrible. I just don't think they're going to be a 13-4 team.
Who do you think that they will? Who on that? I mean, because again, I looked at the schedule and I went, "Wow, how did the Niners playing in a first place schedule get this draw?" And I just
so I've got them losing to the Cowboys on week 5.
Okay.
I've got them losing to the Vikings on week 7 because they're in Minnesota. I've got them losing to the Bengals. I've got them losing to the Jaguars, and I've got them losing to the Ravens and splitting with the Seahawks. So actually, I'm beating the Eagles. I am beating the Eagles. But it goes back to the same thing we talked about last week. I don't think the Eagles, they wrote a healthy team, and that's what you got to do in the NFL, right? Like, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the talent is the talent, and you've got to stay healthy. So I don't think the Eagles and Niners stay as healthy as they did last year.
Well, we're going to be talking about a couple teams that I think, no matter if they stay healthy or not, are going to be doing anything this year. So
yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I can't argue with that.
All right, so that's my one. Let's I don't know how you guys did it. Who do you guys have? I don't even know who I have it to. Who do I have it to?
Everybody's got the Seahawks at 2. We're different on the record, but everybody's got the Seahawks at 2.
Okay.
So basically, it's Niners, Seahawks, Rams cards in that order are basically the general consensus.
All right.
Well, you have the
with the exception, I've got the Seahawks one game better than the Niners.
All right, so let's still do the Seahawks next. Don't mind the teams on the screen. The Seahawks signed their quarterbacks, Locke and Smith. Got the ghost of Mario Edwards. They got
brought Jaron Reed back, brought Robbie Wagner back, and brought Devin Bush back on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. So brought back the team from 1983. I
was gonna say
they lost Perry, which I don't think is a huge loss. They lost Barton. They lost the other running back, Travis Homer, which love the name. He's going to the running team known as the Bears. They lost a defensive end, Collar, and Jonathan Abrams to the Saints as a safety. They had a shit ton of draft picks. They had a cornerback and a wide receiver in the first round.
Thank you, Russell.
They got a edge rusher, Hall, in the second round, running back in the second round. Then it's all fourth, fifth rounders. So probably depth pieces there. On the roster, or as far as the depth chart, they've got Geno Smith, they got DK Metcalf, they got Tyler Lockett, they've got the new wide receiver Smith, they've got Noah Fant, the former Bronco, they got Kenneth Walker right now, probably have the running back. They got Zach, I can't even.
Charbonneau.
Yes, Charbonneau. Will probably be doing some time. Their offensive line was a top 20 offensive line. Their defense was ranked 20th, is what the projections are supposed to be. So the DK's good. Tyler Lockett's good. Like, oops, we all screwed up on the fantasy relevance for those guys because Geno actually threw the ball, which who knew? So he looked good. To me, it's a good team. It's a good team. You're going to be in the games. You're not going to be in the bottom half of the league. You're going to be in the middle. But nothing in here says I'm going to stick with the elites. I'm going to be there when it's all done. I could see the ceiling being a 10-win team and getting into the playoffs. I can see it being an 8-win team or 7-win team and not making the playoffs. It would be how many of these young guys gel, how good are, if you've got 4, ones and twos that are adding some talent. So it's how good they do. Does Geno revert or stay, as good? You get what you get with Geno, I think. And then do the other guys stay healthy? I mean, if if we're talking thin on the 49ers, you're really thin. Like an injury to like meet DK and you're looking completely different, right? Or unlike the Niners, two quarterbacks, you guys are down to Drew Lock if you lose your top one, right?
I mean, the Niners, you can make the same argument, an injury to Debo, and they're looking completely different. To me, it's not the DKs or the Debos. It's the, how does the whole package work? And yeah, I mean, go for it, Rip. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this.
I kind of disagree, and I think we talked about earlier when I said it depends. To me, the Seahawks' success is going to depend on what Geno Smith shows up, right? And you mentioned something pretty interesting, that the line played up better than they expected, and so on and so forth, which is great. But again, if you want to go by depth, they did pick up some new kids on the line for the line. But it all relies on Geno. If Geno don't show up, then what, right? You've got Drew Lock and another guy that you just drafted. I don't even know how to say his name. Hallers, I don't know. That guy, Holton. But your defense, come on now. You mentioned some players they brought back. Look, your geriatric players aren't going to do you that great. Those guys, you brought in the old news thinking it's going to make a difference. Maybe it will. Maybe it's locker room leadership. Maybe it makes a big difference. I could be wrong, right? But Geno Smith, if he shows up and plays like he played last season, again, I think Wardy's right. Your ceiling is 10, 11 wins, right? I'm going with Geno kind of tappers out. Not bad, just not as good as he did last season. I think he surprised a lot of people. Like, man, it's Geno. That kid can't throw. And then, oh, shit, Geno's throwing, right? It's a whole different ballgame. Again, if he comes up, shows up, then ceiling 11 wins. I'm going with he's going to kind of be middle of the road. And I did give you an above 500 record, right? 9-8. But to me, it's all going to come down to that. Your defense isn't going to hold you in there great, in my opinion, again. And if Geno is mediocre, then your whole team, whether you have Lockett and Metcalf and Ninja Smith or whoever, it's not going to make a difference. It's going to be either, again, seeding 11 or, man, maybe it flips around and you're an 8-9 team.
See, where I'm struggling is how they get to 8 or 9 losses.
Well, we could go down their schedule. Week 1, you got the Rams. That's a win. Week 2, I have you losing to Detroit. The NFC East teams you play, there's a split there, right? I think you lose to the Cowboys. I think there's a possibility you lose to the Giants. You definitely lose to the Philly. You're losing to the Bengals. You're definitely not losing to Little Peoples. Cleveland is a toss-up.
Yeah.
Baltimore, you're losing. You can go down 49ers. You got to play 49ers twice. That's where I get it there, right?
Yeah, but okay, so even if they lose both Niners games, I don't see how they lose to the Giants.
Again,
I mean, you guys had the Giants. You guys had the Giants at 8-9 last week. You're telling me one of the Giants' 8 wins is going to be the Seahawks?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I mean, I guess maybe I'm just going off of last week where you thought the Giants sucked, and I don't see the Seahawks being below the Giants.
Again, 8-9 isn't sucky, and I think I have you 9-8, 8-9. I mean, it's in the same ballpark. It's an average team, right? You're in every game, you win half the games. Like that's an average team. Like not everybody wins 10 games. If you get 10, you're in the playoffs. So that's the top echelon, right? I mean, and again, it comes down to things like if Geno plays out of his mind, completely different story. If he plays like he does last year, I mean, what was your record last year?
That's a good question. Hold on.
And hey, so while we have the analyst looking this up, hey, Slapper,
they were 9-8 last year.
There you go.
Hey, look at that.
So, I mean, that's kind of what it's you got a couple coin flips, right? So again, I can see 10 wins, I can see 8 wins. I think you're going to be in there. You're definitely, I think you're ahead of the curve. Like the question comes, is Geno going to take you to the promised land, right? Is he going to take a step? Is this a team? Is this a quarterback you're going to build around? And I think you know the answer, and it's no. Geno's a placeholder, right?
So here's the reason I don't think they're as far off as you do is they only lost 2 games by more than a touchdown. And they had a terrible defense last year. I'm not even going to argue with that one. They lost to the Niners early in the season, 27-7, and they lost to the Chiefs 24-10 late in the season. Everybody else, they were within the game to the very end.
Listen,
it doesn't take a whole lot at that point when you've got the 18th, when you're 25th against in rushing or points against. You're giving up almost 24 points a game. You get some pass rush. They've got a hell of a secondary. I'm just saying, like the pieces are there. Is all I'm saying. Now maybe I'm wrong, but it's happened before. It'll happen again.
And I don't disagree with you at all. My point and the way I listed my record at 9-8 for Seahawks is based on Geno, right? And in my opinion, I think Geno's going to level off a little and not play as well as he did last season. And you have a 9-8 record. Now again, if the same Geno comes back and Geno on fire, then yeah, you can have an 11-win season, right? And you will beat teams like probably the Cowboys, so on and so forth. But for me right now, my record, the way I place the Seahawks is 100% based on Geno not being, Geno the Geno of great like last season, but maybe more like Geno the pizza maker. Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I just
and all this talk is why they play the games, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Geno can be watching this podcast and be like, "Oh no."
Maybe he's making a pizza. Geno, if you're making pizza, hook it up.
The one thing I will say that gives me heart for the future for the Seahawks is they're not stuck on a long contract with Geno. It's a 3-year deal, but it's really just a 1-year deal. So if he sucks, they move on.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is you've got to get a replacement, right? And where do you get the replacements at? High up in the draft. And your problem, it might be some of the other teams' problems that you are going to be smack dab in the middle. There's something to be said of bottoming out like the Jaguars did, where you get like 5 years at the bottom because you get like the top end quarterbacks, right? When you're 8-8, 7-8, whatever record, in the middle, 7-8 wins, you don't get that quarterback. Now the Broncos gave you a gift, but do they have another bad year? Do you know? And does it?
They don't have any more. They don't have any more Broncos draft picks. So.
Oh, okay.
What was your first pick? The Ninja Smith?
No, cornerback.
Devin Witherspoon.
Right. So, and to be all fairness, had the Broncos not beaten the Chargers in Week 18, 31-28, Seahawks are a top 3 pick, and we're talking quarterback here.
I would assume so. I think they went with what was best out there and hit the needs they needed.
Yep.
I like Ninja Smith, by the way. I just didn't understand that pick considering you had 2 of the good receivers.
Well, Lockett's. So the problem is Lockett's on his way out. He is not long for. I don't think he gets re-signed next time around.
Yeah, they don't. The wide receivers don't age well.
Well, Ninja Smith should do good though.
I mean, this is this is one of those drafts that can make you a stacked team. But this team, this seems to mirror. What's funny is it seems to mirror the Broncos. You guys might have a superstar team and no quarterback to helmet, or not a playoff caliber quarterback. Which is got to be the worst thing in the world, right?
Without a doubt.
Well, Rip knows.
What?
I mean, you had a couple years that you had the best team in the EFC or NFC East or even NFC. You had the best team. You didn't have a quarterback, right? If you replace Tony Romo with, Peyton Manning, and you've got a couple more rings, right?
Well, the problem with the Cowboys, and you already know that we keep putting choker quarterbacks at the quarterback position.
Correct.
I love Tony Romo, but he choked in big games.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem you run into, and I mean, it's the NFL's issue, is there are not 32 or 30 quality quarterbacks, right? Not high-level quarterbacks.
Well, that's why teams run it anywhere. Not just quality, but affordability and so on and so forth, right? You blow your load on a running back, and you don't have no more money for the quarterback. You blow your load on a quarterback, you got no more money for receivers, and so on and so forth, right? You have to get lucky through the draft, or you end up with players like Purdy who shows up out of nowhere, or the best example out of all of them, Tom Brady, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew he'd be that great, but you got lucky.
Well, and also your Super Bowl blueprint, right, was Russell Wilson was on a rookie contract. He was not a high draft pick. He played out of his mind. You guys had a defense that was stellar. You had, Marshawn Lynch. You should have won 2 Super Bowls, but someone forgot to run the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a great team. And then once you had to pay Russell Wilson, it became evident he was a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, or he was a really good quarterback. And whatever the next level is, that I can carry, Peyton Manning, I can carry this team to 11 wins if there's no one around me, right? Or Tom Brady, I can carry a Patriots team that has no running backs and no wide receivers to 11 wins.
Well, and so I think that if we want to go Brady real quick, I think that's the biggest thing he did was not take market value for deals.
Yes.
I mean, he took way under market value a lot of times on his deals to allow the Patriots to buy get other players.
That is very true. Plus the extra bonus to that, he had a deal with the devil.
That is also correct.
Well,
Forgot about that.
That apparently came up last year. It came due. I don't know. So, and hey, I hope you guys. I hope Gino's like, I'm watching this. I'm balling out.
I mean, I got faith in Gino. Now I am wearing my Russell Wilson signed hat at the moment. So
nice.
Well, if it makes you feel better.
Did he sign it? Did he sign it in front of you? Like you gave him the hat and he signed it? Nice.
In Brazil, I have it on video by NFL Network.
Nice. Well, if it makes you feel better, I'd rather have Gino than Dak.
Did I ever tell you guys that story?
No.
I don't know if I did.
Did you sign your chest?
No. Oh, God, no. So we were down in Brazil for Carnival, and Ciara happened to be down there on tour, and Wilson and the kids were down there. We go to Sugarloaf one day as part of the, we were on a cruise ship, so we go to Sugarloaf, and all of a sudden this just entourage shows up, and everybody, all the girls are like, oh my God, it's Ciara. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Russell Wilson. And I'm the only dude in the whole place wearing a Seahawks cap, because as we flew through Seattle, and I realized I'd forgotten a ball cap. So I bought a Seahawks cap in the SeaTac airport. And so I have a black Seahawks cap with Russell Wilson's signature on it that the NFL Network or NFL Films or one of those had a documentary crew. And there's a video out there that I've got a copy of me
getting signed?
Basically getting it signed on
nice.
video. Yeah.
Nice.
And I have a picture of him with me at the top of Sugarloaf Mountain. I'll drop it into Discord for you guys.
I have no idea who Ciara is. Sorry, Ciara. Ciara 1500?
I believe she's a singer.
She's some singer, yeah. Very popular singer.
Yeah.
Never heard of her.
Possibly more popular than the Lilliputian leader of the Arizona Cardinals, but I doubt it. So I think, do we have Arizona up next? I think we should.
I have Rams.
All right, Rams it is. I don't care.
Lilliputian
leader on the bottom. All right, so the Rams, they got a tight end, Hunter Long. They got a guard, Shelton. They've got Marquise Copeland, a defensive tackle, which re-signed. Those are re-signs. They lost Odell Beckham. They lost a safety, Rapp. They lost Gaines, an offensive tackle. They didn't have a first-round pick. They had 110 6th and 7th round picks. They picked linebacker, defensive end, the ageless Stetson Bennett at quarterback, edge rusher, offensive tackle, tight end, and then we start getting the 5th round. The roster, Matthew Stafford at quarterback, coming off injury. Cooper Kupp coming off injury. Van Jefferson, Ben Shawshank Redemption, Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers, who will probably give up the ghost to their draft pick Williams. Their O-line was one of the last in the league. Their defense was dead last in the league. This has had a precarious drop from a few years ago when they had the best defense in the league. Now they have the best player in the league in Aaron Donald, and that's probably it. So that is a preview of your Los Angeles Rams.
Well, I'll start this one real quick. The Rams, I have them at 5-12, a stone throw away from, you know, being the same record as the Cardinals. If you ask me, they're in trouble, man. Cooper Kupp coming off injury. I think Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. He'll be fine. The defense is really dismal. The offensive line ain't great. I think that your starting quarterback will be Stetson Bennett, and then like around week 4 or 5, he's like, "Man, I'm too old for this stuff. I'm out. I should have retired at 35."
In college, I should have got that 27th year of eligibility.
Yeah. Now, I think Stetson Bennett is built for the NFL. I think his age, I think his mental maturity is why he played so well. But unfortunately for him, he landed on a team that's still going to suffer. That's still going to be going through pain. I don't see it getting any better for them. Luckily, he's got Cooper Kupp. But other than that, if that O-line isn't fixed and adjusted, man, Cooper Kupp, Stetson Bennett's going to be on his butt a lot. As far as the defense, you said it, man. What do they really have left? Aaron Donald? They do have a couple of guys here and there they drafted, but yet to be seen, right? And I don't think that defense wins games, not this defense anyways, whether they improve or not. The offense is still going to hurt, whether you have Cooper or not. It will be Stetson Bennett throwing to him. The running game is going to be okay. Nothing really. If you look at, again, the whole, like we say, the fantasy relevance, hard to pull anything, even Cooper Kupp here, because of who's throwing to him, right? Overall, this team is going to suffer. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be good, and they could end up just like the Arizona Cardinals. The only teams I really have them beating are a couple of them are the Arizona Cardinals.
Correct. Yeah.
So we shall see. But sorry, Stetson, you should have retired in college.
What did I have him as?
You got him at 6-12 or 6-11, whereas Ripper and I have him at 5-12.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was in a giving mood. You went like, it's funny because a lot of people think it's the names, right? Yes, you have to have a Cooper Kupp, but it doesn't matter if you have. And the Chiefs showed this in the Super Bowl a couple years ago when all their tackles got hurt, and basically the defensive ends were meeting at the quarterback. You have to be able to play offense and defense, and your offensive and defensive lines have to be stout. That just has to happen because in the NFL, it is really easy to run the ball and hand off a guy, and if you're getting 5-6 yards a carry, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll do that all day, and then they'll stack the box and put 8 guys in the box, and you'll take your 3 yards a carry and then go over the top of them. The Rams couldn't stop anybody. Cooper's coming off an injury, and he was used like 97%. I mean, he was the most utilized player in the league, and they eventually broke him, right? Stafford looked terrible, and I don't know if his arm had to be reattached or like what happened to him. He looked bad.
I thought Stafford was a concussion guy.
He just looked bad. I mean, and maybe that was it. He was so concussed that his arm hurt. I don't know, but he did not look. It was like I got my ring. I'm done. Sweet Pickles retirement bus. Come get me now. If they made a massive improvement on like the Jets had a really bad defense a couple years ago. They turned it around. If they turn this defense around, and again, there's a lot of 4th, 5th, 6th rounders that they've added depth. So hey, if they turn it around and they get a 15, this offensive line's still bad. It's not gonna move to the middle of the pack, in 1 year. And then on top of that, you don't have any threats. I mean, just it's not this offense doesn't scare anybody, and it didn't last year. And if Cooper comes, let's say Cooper comes back, I don't know, 4 or 5 games in, is he Cooper Kupp, or is he Cooper Kupp with a jacked up knee, still getting used to it, because that usually takes like a year. Throwing all that together, I think I think I gave him 6 wins for fun. I don't think it's going to be a good year for the Rams. I think it's going to be a bad year for the Rams. Striker.
So I've got him at 5-12, and I could easily see that being a 4-13 team. But so Stafford is a concussion guy. He's got neck issues. He's been pulled multiple times in the last couple of years for numbness in both his arm and his legs. Which, I mean, yeah, I don't see how he keeps playing football. I know his wife is pretty vocal about it, and Then you go to the Cooper Cup show. I mean, there's nobody on here. I wouldn't even take Cup right now as a top fantasy guy.
Okay, what round would you take him in?
If he's there at the turn between 2 and 3, and I'm a first, and I'm got the back end of 2 and the front end of 3, I probably take him there. But that's the earliest I go for him. I just don't see him producing.
Well, that could go two ways, right? And you're right, 100%. I'm with you that Cooper Cup's numbers are going to be way low because of who's throwing to him and the time they have, right? But man, this could totally Cup could be a steal in the third or fourth round, period. Because we could be wrong, right? And maybe the Rams do great, and Stetson's out there going, "Hey, Matthew Stafford, I'm 5 years older than you, but I throw way better than you, right?" So that can happen. And if it does, Cup is going to be a huge steal in the mid rounds. In my opinion, I would not. First 3 rounds, I wouldn't touch Cup.
Well, he's got a very high ceiling, right? The question is, does he come back? Question to me is he like a Hopkins that it's going to take him, I don't know, 5, 6, what, is he going to basically be missing 6 games while his rehab gets done, or 6 games of I'm just getting things figured out, I'm afraid to take a hit? The question is, how long is that transition? And if it's earlier, then absolutely, he can, he might be right back to 150 yards a game and then a touchdown. Now, it might be in a 30 to 15 loss, but we don't care for that for fantasy.
As hard as Cup worked to get through college and get to the NFL and play at the level he's playing, I don't think he comes back afraid to take it. I think he comes back if he comes back and the injury isn't the part, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be mental for Cup. I think the injury will be the only thing that can really hold him back. If what did he break?
It's a high ankle sprain, and he had surgery to repair it.
He'll be fine then, I think. Yeah. It's not like a break or whatever. I get it. The ankle, if you have anything with surgery, sucks, but if he hasn't lost even an inkling of a step, great. But that's not the problem, right? It's who's throwing to him. And if Stetson doesn't have the time to throw to him, then Cup's production goes down.
I've heard that quarterbacks can't throw when they're on their back.
No.
Yeah.
No. Unless you're Tom Brady.
But even Tom Brady, his thing was get it out quick. And I mean, neither Stafford, Bennett definitely is not a get it out quick guy.
Well, they're too old for that.
Their fourth round, or their fourth quarterback from University of Tennessee, Martin Dresser Wynn. What a name.
Well, with that get it out quick comment, that was a perfect segue for our new sponsor. It's a little blue.
I thought it was Hims, the chewable Hims.
Hims, that one.
Literally, that's all my Facebook ads have been lately. I wonder what
if
they're
you're
telling
hearing
me.
us, Hims, we got you. Hit us up.
Oh, that's funny. So Matthew Stafford may not be up, but Hims will get you up.
So before we transition, I do have a question. Is Stetson Bennett taller, or is Kyler Murray taller? And the answer might surprise you.
Is Kyler taller than Stetson?
It's damn close. It depends on which measurements you read.
Depends on who's wearing the longer cleats.
So Kyler is 5'10", Stetson is 5'11". However, Stetson in senior year of high school to freshman year of college was 5 feet 9.5.
What?
And I don't know many college level players who, grow an inch and a half, couple inches the first couple of years of college.
That boy is gonna get. He better hope Stafford stays upright, because I don't think I remember Stetson Bennett being athletic, but maybe I missed that in the Georgia.
You know what they say, after the age of 55 or so, you start shrinking.
Yes.
Of course, Stetson.
Oh gosh.
And other interesting for Stetson before we move on, do you know why he left Georgia? Because Justin Fields committed to Georgia. So he was a walk-on Georgia his freshman year, and Justin Fields showed up, and he transferred to a little-known Jones College.
Well, there you go. Calvin Ridley earning his paycheck today.
There he is. Okay, let's talk about the Cards.
Do we have to?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. They signed quarterback Jeff Driscoll, who that's probably the headliner. They got the Colts, Zach Pascal. They got a fullback. They got some offensive help at tackle, guard, and guard times 2. Center. Everyone on defense got signed. He signed or re-signed, which is great. Except their defense was 30th. Their offensive line was in the bottom third, ranked 27th, I think, overall. Their quarterback is Kyler Littleman Murray. They've got Marquise 50-50 Brown, Ron Moore at wide receiver, Greg Dortch, Zach Ertz, James Conner, or the ghost of Pittsburgh past. They got a tackle in the first round. They got an edge rusher in the second round, corner in the third, a wide receiver in the third, and we get into the fourth and a linebacker. Then they just, lots of other bit pieces.
What they drafted in the first round?
The first round was
out of Ohio State.
Harris
listed
Johnson.
as a guard, not a tackle. But either way.
Yeah, they actually got him as a guard too on their depth chart.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With DJ Humphries sitting on the outside on the left.
So they got a tackle who's so bad he has to play guard.
Yep.
That's it. That's a great first rounder.
With the 6th overall pick.
Yeah. Which goes to maybe that's why the Cardinals aren't having a good time. They lost Zach Allen. They lost DeAndre Hopkins. Cornerback Murphy. Guard Hernandez.
They ended up re-signing Will Hernandez, actually.
Yeah. Thank you, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I don't do QA, but I definitely do fact checking.
I mean, I have the Cardinals at 2-5. Honestly, I don't. I mean, look,
2-15. You mean?
2-5, and then little man gets killed.
Well, you lose D Hops, right? Maybe the number 1 pick, offensive guard, tackle, whatever you would call him, helps a little bit. But man, they were just horrible last year, horrible. And I don't know that they changed their coach too, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Cliff Kingsbury is bye-bye. And now they've got a worse guy. I
don't know that you can blame their coach, right? I mean, it was just, I don't know. There was dismal play across the board. Honestly.
Well, but he's the one who signed off on Murray, right? Like he signed off and said, "I'm going to do." And this is, I guess, that's the rap on Cliff is that he looks good in the first half, and people adjust to his system, and he doesn't adjust back. So apparently it happened in college, and it happened in the NFL. Like, oh, I've got this new thing, and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then teams are like, oh, we figured this out, and then he's done.
Yeah. Well, it's not like after Kyler you have anything better. Colt McCoy. I mean, I'm a Texas fan, but come on now. I know they drafted a quarterback. It's still not looking good for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't see enough improvement, draft, free agency, or otherwise. I see them losing stuff. I see the running game still staying the same, aging. It just doesn't look good for them. I really don't. And then you look at their schedule and like, all right, I could see 2-15 pretty easily.
You know how I feel about the little guy. He is amazing as an athlete, but he's hurt. And he lost his best weapon, which D-Hops, I think everybody picked him up, right? Like in the fantasy at the discounted rate, right? And you shelved him for 6 weeks going, please, dear God, don't everybody get hurt. And then you put him out and he was getting 100 yards a game, even with that dismal offense. That's gone. Who's replacing that?
The problem was you didn't even score touchdowns. He 3 touchdowns last year in 9 games.
Yeah, but his receptions and yardage were great. He had a lot of receptions.
Yeah, which I was.
He was only averaging 79.7 a game. I mean,
he was like a late round pick for me, and he was my 3rd wide receiver. I didn't care. Like that's awesome. I'll take it. But
late value, no argument. But he is not the D-Hops of old. That's for sure.
Well, he is the D-Hops of old. It's just he's not on a team, right? So, or wasn't on a team. Now who knows where he's going to end up.
And honestly, since I have him at 2-15, it's pretty easy to tell you who I think they beat. They split with the Rams and they beat the Texans. That's where I have them.
Sad. Yeah, I think Murray's an athlete enough that and he's a competitor. I think he'll pull some magic out of his rear.
He'll pull the Achilles tendon and then be out. Yeah.
And he'll pull that eventually. But yeah, and you guys know how I feel about him. I think it's a great athlete. Love the fact he plays in the NFL and is 5'0". But it is it's not a winning formula. Striker, over to you in sports.
Yeah, so I've got him at 4-13, and I could easily see him less than that. I couple of coin flip games for them that I thought they might not lose, but I'm not sure that's the case after looking at their schedule a little closer.
Who do I think they beat Atlanta.
You've got them at 4-13 also.
Right.
Yeah, 4-13 also. I've got them beating Atlanta, or losing to Atlanta. Sorry, no, I've got them beating Atlanta. There we go, brain work. I've actually got them beating the Rams at home. So that's the 2 wins that I have that Ripper doesn't have. But little fun fact for you: Cliff Kingsbury is currently an assistant coach at USC. Also, a little fun fact, and I did not know this. He was actually fired from Texas Tech before he was hired by Arizona.
Yeah.
I thought Arizona hired him outright, which really brings into question the Arizona ownership if they hired him after being fired by Texas Tech.
Well, they saw an innovative offensive mind, and they're like, we must have him.
Right. So fantasy relevance, I don't have much here. I mean, there is not a whole lot of fantasy I want. Maybe Connor in a late round is they're probably gonna give him a ton of carries, but
I'd take Ertz.
Who's gonna throw to him? Well, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Little people likes to dump it off a lot, so yeah, Ertz isn't a bad one.
I mean, he's not. Tight ends are. There is Travis Kelce and then like a bunch in the middle.
Kittle had a pretty good season.
Who?
Kittle. 49ers, Kittle.
You're talking tight end.
My point is that there's probably not 12 really good tight ends. So a guy like Ertz is going to be, again, depending on where you get him, he's valuable.
Yeah, the problem I see with Ertz is he hasn't stayed healthy in a while.
He's 100 years old. Yeah, I get you.
He's 32. I mean, the last 4 years he's played 11, 6, 11, and 10 games. So you're not getting anywhere near a full season out of him. No, he is averaging, nearly 10 yards a reception when he catches the ball, but he's not the dump guy. He doesn't have a ton of receptions.
They're gonna have to throw it to somebody because 50-50 is 50-50. We all know what that is, right? Marquise Brown. They lost D-Hops. You got Rondale Moore left. Greg Dortch, the Torch, which he's more like 50-50 too if you look at him.
It's got to be clones. Maybe if they merge the two guys together, they'll have 100.
Yeah, maybe. It's gonna be a tough season for the Cardinals.
Or zero.
And my mama told me that if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So I'm done talking about the Arizona Cardinals and the little peoples.
And they were on Hard Knocks. Does anyone know who Hard Knocks is this time?
No, let's look it up.
Hard Knocks 2023 is going to be. They haven't decided yet, apparently.
Okay.
You don't got the inside scoop, Kelvin?
So the 4 teams that it's down to are the Jets, the Bears, the Saints, and the Commanders.
Oh, it's the Jets, and it's the Jets.
Yeah, it's the Jets.
But the Saints have said no. The Commanders have said no. So it's really the Bears and the Jets. Yeah, it's got to be the Jets.
Come on.
How do you not?
Yeah, you got to be. Jets, Jets.
Uncle Rico.
Is he doing? So is he still doing?
He's big on the Jets now that Rodgers is there.
Oh my God, he's gonna lose this, and it's gonna mess up their betting odds, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
I have no idea.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because they're gonna be favored in games they probably shouldn't. Oh man, this is gonna be Uncle Rico's gonna have a bloodbath maybe.
So Rip, are you gonna go visit Uncle Rico for game? Are you gonna go to the Cowboys game week 2 against the Jets?
I'm not going to the game, no. And
Uncle Rico?
I tried to convince Uncle Rico, call in or something. He's like, yeah, he had choice words for me.
So the question is with
perfect.
According to him, he said that's how they find you. So I don't know what that meant, but he said no. There may be warrants for Uncle Rico in some counties.
That's how they find you.
Well, his name's
We
not actually
can just
Rico,
get like
so-
the voice changer, like those things that they do. Hello, my
Yeah,
name is
right.
Uncle Rico. Oh my god. All right, so recap. We have universally picked the 49ers to be first or second, with Striker being cray cray. The Seahawks is universally picked as second or first.
With Striker being cray cray again.
Yes, the Rams are third, and the Cardinals are fourth. But those two are very close to call, and we're all within a game again, right?
Well, except for the Seahawks record.
Except for the Striker with this SFP pick.
Again,
I mean,
more power
they're
to
the
you.
team
I
know
hope
the
so.
closest. So
Homer. Well, I can't say that though, right? I picked Dallas 12-5 last week, so.
Yeah, but I did too.
mean, so the thing is, though, for me, is I know the Seahawks better than you guys do, just like Ripper knows Dallas better than the two of us do, Wardy. And so for me, I see things differently than you guys do. Maybe it's Homer, maybe it's rose-colored glasses, because it is June, and we haven't played a game yet. But
no, mine is terrible. Like I feel we're at a crossroads, and I'm scared to death of the season. And
oh God,
well,
Wardy's gonna say Jaguars win the Super Bowl.
No. The other way.
No.
No, I think we're gonna do terrible. Like because
I don't.
Those tackles scare me. The fact that we lost, which I think that the Chiefs overpaid for Jawan Taylor. But the fact that we lost him and then we lost Cam Robinson to some crazy suspension that we don't know yet, and we're going to be starting a rookie and another guy scares the crap out of me. And it's not because we're starting them; it's because if you start them and someone gets hurt, you're starting to get really deep in the barrel. But I can also look at it on paper and go, we have the same team. I mean, and again, the team had to basically scrape to get to the playoffs. They were not, 9-win team. I mean, we barely made it. But then I see, you got Calvin Ridley. So I don't know. I'm Jekyll and Hyde on the Jags.
Well, that's for another week.
Yep.
For sure.
All right, your soundbite of the week.
If you want to feel good about your team, think about what the Cards are going to do this season.
Striker.
That'll make anybody feel good.
just remember, even short people can play in the NFL.
Brock Purdy wins the MVP.
Oh, God. Wow. Let me tell you something. If he gets married to Giselle, who I think was a part of the deal with the devil that Brady had, then Purdy win a new deal, and that guy's winning like 18 Super Bowls.
Yes.
Brock Purdy doesn't do enough yoga or whatever Giselle does, the Muay Thai trainer or whoever she was with right after she broke up with Brady.
Let me tell you something. They weren't doing yoga. They were making fudge.
Really? Really? You don't say.
All right, guys. Our
Well,
time
that's
is
what I mean.
our time is at an
That's
end.
what
Then,
happens.
unless you guys have some other good insights.
Well,
So
that's what happens
next
when
week-
the deal with the devil breaks off. Giselle goes and does yoga.
You want to tell them about next week and the potential schedule change, or are we rolling? We're going to let that roll out at some other point.
Now we'll roll that at some other point.
Okay. We are going to talk about the NFC North next week, though. So for those of you who
Uh-oh.
like the NFC North, which probably is nobody,
Who's in the NFC North?
it's
The
the
Bears.
Lions, the Vikings,
joke.
the Packers, and the Bears.
Stop Bears.
That's actually going to be a good one if you ask me. I think just a preview, but the Lions, the Packers, the Lions and the Vikings are going to be pretty good next season.
I think it's going to set up like the NFC West, where you're going to have two teams up top and two teams way down low.
Well, it's kind of been setting up like that in general, hasn't it? And we had the NFC. We had Washington and New York on the bottom, and Dallas and Philly pretty high up. There's a big difference in records.
AFC South.
Who is-
AFC South?
Who is? Yeah, that's 3 on the bottom. I hope. Hopefully not 4 on the bottom. Who is better division wise, the West or the East?
Yeah. By record, the East. If you're looking at the whole scope of 4 teams versus 4 teams, then you'd have to say the East. My
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree. I mean, you've got two pretty rock solid NFC East teams in Philly and Dallas, and the Giants and the Commanders could be halfway decent. Whereas in the West, you got, the Niners are good. We all give that. We're kind of argumentative on the Seahawks, but we all agree the Rams and the Cardinals aren't going to be good. So
Yeah, I think obviously the ceiling I think is higher in the West, but yeah, you're right. The East is a stronger division.
I mean, the East, if you just go look at point differential, it's not even close. The worst team in the East was a -22 last year.
Was that the Commanders?
That was the Commanders. The second worst team in the West last year was a -77, with the Cardinals coming in at -109. So top team in the Niners, but after the Niners, the Seahawks were a +6, which puts them as third in the East, and that's only because the Giants were a -6. Like it's not a pretty breakdown.
All right. Well, I think that's us. That's our show for this week. Let me close it out and see you guys next week.
Yep. See you next week.
Sounds good.